It's a pleasure to speak with you today, Fraser. You're one of the elite European short analysts, and I say elite because your track record has a fantastic hit rate. But the one, and I really want our customers to understand how you function, what makes you different, so they can benefit long term from your knowledge, and possibly become, well, some of them are institutional, maybe even become customers. But first of all, it's just amazing. I mean, I'm intensely prepared usually, and I Googled you and we did a search on you. And Fraser, you're about as intransparent as the Steinhoff acquisition accounting. So I have to ask you first, I don't mean to go into revelations here, into your personal life too much, but it was said that in 2013, you were still a social worker.
Yeah.
And, first of all, I'd like to ask you, in what areas of social work were you involved in?
Well, it's ironic. I was struck off for being a social worker. I think it was 2012. I quit in 2012 because I worked in heavily intensive research areas such as child protection, risk of harm, paedophiles, you name it. And how it came about, me being struck off, was I followed the rules. So I reported individuals internally that were putting children at risk, and naively thought that this whistleblower forum that everyone believes in would work for you. But I didn't realize reporting certain bosses all the way up to the directorate for risk of harm to children would cause me to be at risk. So, I don't believe in whistleblower channels now within most local governments. In major government, I do. But so essentially, my job hasn't changed really. It's just exposing people that are the wrong uns is the best term I can use. They're highly questionable returns. Same in families. So it's social work. Some people criticize us because we haven't got CFA, CPA, you name it.
Yeah.
And social work, ironically, gives you a better qualification than any accounting degree that anyone's got, because it makes sure you follow a rule book of understanding how shitty companies operate. And they operate as a very dysfunctional family where one person has control. So we have Steinhoff, we have Wirecard, we have ProSiebenSat, we have MyMedics, we have Grenke, we have Reconnaissance Africa, we have Athenex. So every single short that we've ever done, bar AMD that we got wrong, but I'll come to that later.
We were unfortunately short that too for a few weeks.
Me
short
too.
or not?
Recon short, still short.
Yeah, I was still short one of those. But AMD, we didn't short after all, even though we were hot. We looked at that. We went away. It's too much momentum. But go on.
I don't blame you.
Social worker perspective on the dysfunctional family and dysfunctional companies. I love that parallel. I've never heard it before. Go on, please.
Right. So essentially speaking, if you think of yourself, everyone knows. So in families, all families are dysfunctional, but you sort of co-live, co-cooperate.
Mm-hmm.
You have a husband and wife, girlfriend, boyfriend that argue. If there's kids involved, they put pressure on. So you've got your chairman, you've got your CEO, and then you've got your CFO. And when you actually remove the titles, and this is where a lot of analysts go wrong, they believe that if the CEO speaks, it's the truth, right? So I'm going to give you a more recent example, and we'll go back through history. So we published a report on Grenke.
Yes.
They came out and said, it's a slap in the face for all our investors and us, and it's all rubbish, and it's lies, and it's slanderous. So why have 7 directors and senior executives been fired, left, retired, or changed their corporate title? And they've appointed a risk director, compliance and risk, who literally has little experience in it anyway, but we come to that anyway. But so you've got all these, they operate like a family accused of abuse because they're abusing the investors. And they use the same types of words. So I remember, not many people know this, but I got the highest grade ever for research in a degree, right? I won an award for it. Anyone that says I'm not capable of research, put us to a challenge, because we get tired of critiques, and it's the typical financing. If you didn't qualify in finance, your face doesn't fit.
Let me interrupt you, Fraser. Did you get some of this out of the language, out of the annual reports, out of the interviews, out of the interaction, facial analysis? Tell me a little bit more about the link between, you know, the social analytics and the financial institution.
Right. So obviously, if we start lying about things, we're taught, the people that teach us to lie, believe it or not, and everyone will disagree, but it's fact, right? We're taught to lie by our parents, right? Because we are great liars as parents, right? We've learned some of the best skills of lying thanks to our parents who lied to us, right? So unless you don't have any parents and grew up in a cave, unlikely, you've learned to lie thanks to mum or dad or both, or your aunties. The whole family learns to push certain things under the carpet. So some of the analysis, we use some of the long only funds because we're symbiotic with some that want to avoid a fraud. Whereas some of the German funds love to back a good fraud. Anyone listed as a major holder of Wirecard shouldn't be given money to buy ice cream, never mind invest, right? And I can say that because I'm not financially qualified, but I'm research qualified. And why the hell were they investing? And you had all the body language galore when challenged. Oh, it's not that. You don't understand our business. How many times have you heard of a fraud? He really doesn't understand finance.
That's
right?
a surefire sign, Fraser. Like we are retarded or something. No, it's a pretty good chance to understand what you're doing. Yeah.
You've hit the nail on the head. Retarded, right? We use retarded phrase a lot in Viceroy because it doesn't mean someone that needs learning support, right? Because it actually comes from a lot longer back where it was someone to make a stupid decision. Right? Someone that needs learning support, which amazingly I'm an expert in, right? Shouldn't be called retarded because they just need assistance. All of us have autism or Asperger's, but where we are on this spectrum.
Yeah.
For me, I'm sort of Asperger's. I don't get that emotional about things that are, at my dad's funeral, I was just lucky to know the guy. So I don't get emotional about it. Right? So apparently I'm retarded because I didn't get emotional. I just don't correspond it. And the same in the fraud.
We've had a wonderful short attribution over the last 3-4 years in a fantastically rising market of about 45% on our total return portfolio. And just imagine we have an unforgiving seller market, then the shit flies to the top. I think that at least 8 out of 30 ducks, 30 companies have accounting issues, serious fucking accounting issues. I strongly believe I know which your 2 or 3 next German projects are. That's the tip of the iceberg. I think there's shit in the top 10 in the DAX. And that comes out when the economy is stressed and the markets are stressed. Let me ask you about, and I love the fact that you admit that, you know, this is another sign I saw. These companies never do any wrong. They do everything right. That Wirecard always claimed they did everything right. No, and anybody cannot critique themselves. So you mentioned advanced micro devices. Did you get into it because of the Chinese agreements, Chinese production agreements? Was that the trigger?
Literally got into it. I would say, well, I'll say why we got into it and why we got it wrong. So we got into it because of a technical report that we sent to our own experts that made their tech extremely flawed. It was easy to hack, but more importantly, you could lock on to the hardware. So even if you whitewashed your software, you were still fucked. Okay. But we didn't appreciate, it was the first meme stock, ironically. And no one realizes, I have never been attacked so much in all my life. Right? The first proper meme stock where the stock took off. And I don't think I've lost more in 15 minutes in my life as what I did that day. So, but why did we get it wrong? We went into an area where our normal access to experts was limited.
Tough. Yeah, tough.
So we stepped outside our circle of expertise.
Yeah.
Our analysis of the actual issues was exact, but the understanding of the consequences, in my eyes, was flawed at best. It was a bit shitty. Okay. We believe the report was right at the time, but when you dissect things, so even after all our winners and our one loser,
yeah,
we still dissect our winners like we do our losers to understand it,
sure,
so that we can improve. The only thing that I can say, losing a shit ton of money and being wrong on A&D, is we changed our track so that in future, A, we don't over expect, and B, we stay in it for longer. So in Athenex, to give you an example, in Athenex, I think we opened with a position of about 15 million short. That organically grew to 30 million. As in the stock went up. You know how you say you organically grew your portfolio? we laugh about it with our shorts, because when it organically grows, it fucks us. Yeah, right? And it royally fucked us. And I'm like, whoa, didn't expect that one, right? There's Sino-Forest, all interrelated parties, shitty acquisitions, permanently raising cash. And then their results came out that were identical to our expert. So we made 70%, but we had to suffer 100% loss to get us going. But we added to it. And the reality is, we've learned majorly from, like, in the payment system. So we're looking at a payments company at the moment. It's a shit co, but I understand it. I learn so much about payment processing every day. I think, well, I know for a fact I'm an expert because I've been classified as one for a court case in Germany soon, right? But we stick within our domains. So pump and dumps, things like that. Absolute over-the-top expectations. There's the likes of Grenke, finding thousands of victims of fraud. Wow. And them going, oh, it's not material. Yeah, we have good compliance, yeah? Bullshit, right? We found, I am not joking, 7,450 odd people, just people, not companies, that were victims of Grenke lease fraud. And they say it's minimal. How can a company say what sort of bloody idiot would minimize fraud? I'd go, I'm really sorry, I'll investigate. Do you know Grenke would have been investable if they'd have come out and said, yeah, we forgot to disclose our related parties. We fucked up with the fraud. We should have sorted out how our franchises work. We should have done this. We should have had a risk officer, a CFO. We shouldn't have been buying items off of Wolfgang Grenke because there was no reason to. Stock would have been hammered day one. I'd have bought it if they'd have come out and been honest.
Business model, yeah. After all,
yeah. We rely. The saddest part is that within all this, investors now trust, despite us, every single company we have published on, we have shown irregularities in the accounts bar one.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And despite them going, it's all lies. So are they actually saying, just think about this for a minute, we've used their own accounts, their own subsidiaries. Are they saying that all their filings in their subsidiary and their accounts are bullshit as well? Because that's what they're saying. It's all lies. Yeah, that's why we published it. Because literally you're lying to your investor.
Well, look, Fraser, we got to exchange. I'm going to give you also my mobile number. We definitely have to talk. We'd probably like to co-invest in some ways through our network. I'm personally will not do that. I have a few issues remaining. And I thank you really tremendously. You made it fun. And,
yeah, good. Thank you.
And you're not a pure short seller either, which is news to me because I have been offered dozens of short only funds. And I said, I don't want to give my friends a high five when the CEO has a traffic accident, you know?
I love it. Yeah, I get it.
You get it? Well, look, thanks, man. We'll talk.
Yeah.
When you're in Germany, you got to sit down. Some very current stuff to talk about. Okay, very current. All right, buddy. Thanks, man.
Take care. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.